Okay, everybody, here we go. I think I'm on. I think we're on, and that's important. So let's talk, you and me. We have a lot. I got pages of stuff to cover with you here. So let's start off with this. I forget this from time to time. It is my post-market wrap-up on this Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. Let's start off with this freak show of a market here real quick. We got some interesting information, nothing that's going to be a surprise to you at all. But let's talk about this. So earlier today, oh yeah, right out of the gate, stock market was ecstatic, absolutely orgasmic, as a matter of fact, over the fact that inflation continues to rise. Oh yeah, it's still rising, but it's slowing down. I don't buy it. Okay, none of us here buy it. Inflation is rising. It's continuing to rise, and it has nowhere to go but higher. Can I please get a duh here? But why did the market give up all its gains? Again, we started off with this nice rally today. Everyone was happy and gleeful and buying and just loving life. Then all of a sudden, the Fed minutes come out. Actually, right before the Fed minutes came out, we got a little hint of something from the European Central Bank. You know, the gargoyle over there. And this is the kind of stuff that makes me want to puke. I'm going to be honest with you. So the European Central Bank, are you ready? Are you ready, everyone? Inflation is more broad-based than was previously thought. Inflation is more broad-based than previously thought. Now, the market didn't like to hear that. Why did the market not like to hear that? Because that means that these central banks are going to continue to crush the consumer and kill the economy. Duh. We have more to talk about. Thank you, CB Housley. So that was the first thing that the market didn't like to hear, that inflation is more broad-based than previously thought. This is the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, no friend of mine, no friend of yours. Now, the Fed minutes come out from their last meeting. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Okay, so if you recall, we had this issue of these smaller regional banks all getting slammed, shuttered, deposits being withdrawn, thrown into the Wall Street banks. We have more to talk about on that as well. With the stunning admission right out of the mouth of Powell himself, who admitted that the Fed knew there was a problem with SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, last November, but they did nothing. All right. So according to the Fed minutes, this is another hit to the market today. Fed officials expect this banking crisis is not over. Oh, what do you mean? I'm shocked. I'm stunned. I can't breathe. How about you? Like you and I didn't know that. We need these things to tell us what we already know. Explain that one to me. How about it's just too stupid. So Fed officials expect that the banking crisis is not over and, in fact, will bleed off into the economy. Now, that doesn't matter. What happens to the economy here only matters in one respect. And that brings me to Fed President Mary Daly, whatever it is. It's a thing. You know that. Okay. Let's stick to Mary Daly for a moment here. How many of you know that Mary Daly, the it thing, yet to be defined entity, is the Federal Reserve president of San Francisco? Ironically, where SVB Bank was, whatever. Okay. How come it thing, yet to be defined entity? Well, she didn't raise any alarm bells. She's the person, Daly, okay, it thing, vomitous mass, who said that in order for inflation to slow, people need to lose their jobs. Now, listen to what she said, it thing said today. All right. Are you ready for this one? Okay. This is why I despise these people. Listen to this. Mary Daly, the economic strength remains elevated. They got to use these kinds of words. They can't say, but they got to use elevated and whatever it might be. They love these things. Economic strength remains so to her, it thing, vomitous mass, believes that the economy is too strong. And the Fed, therefore, has more work to do. What is she saying? What is it saying? That, of course, we already know her stance. She has to kill jobs. What are they doing here? What do we know, people? since day one? What have you and I spoken about since day one? Why is the Federal Reserve actually raising rates? Why is the gargoyle raising rates? Why are these things, these non-human entities, whatever they may be, raising rates here? Not to do a damn thing about inflation. It has nothing at all to do with inflation, because if they wanted to do something that would actually make a difference to stop inflation, they would contract the money supply. Here in the United States, the major financial institutions have a capital reserve requirement of zero. Zero. Increase the capital reserve requirement, I don't know, 2%. I don't know, pick a number here, and we can contract the money supply, inflation would go away. But no, what they've chosen to do, as you all well know, is raise rates here. They're raising rates here to limit the availability of credit to small businesses, the consumer themselves, and obviously this is hitting these smaller regional banks because they're integrating them. You know, the word that I'm using, the mainstream media word, they're integrating, they're actually consolidating the banking system. Henceforth, why the Federal Reserve is saying, the Federal Reserve minutes from today expect this banking crisis is not over, and this will bleed off to the economy, which is what they want. They're trying to kill small businesses here to fulfill the corporate agenda. They're destroying the consumer here. Now, with regard to that, it seems like, here, look, the narrative today, okay, across, CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business, Yahoo Finances, food inflation is getting somewhat better. They're trying to convince you. Look, I go shopping like all you do as well. I put this out in the newsletter earlier today. Food inflation isn't getting any better. It's getting worse. And the packaging, things are getting smaller. Not only are the prices going up or staying the same in some respects, but the packaging, everything is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Shrinkflation, you understand? But they're trying to convince you that things are getting better here. They're not getting any better. Actually, they're admitting that food inflation is still rising, but they're saying that it's rising at a slower pace. I say nonsense. I say total nonsense crap, okay? It ain't getting any better. And no matter what they tell you, isn't going to get any better because of the mechanism here. So going back to what I was saying, why is it that the thing, vomitous mass, Mary Dolly, okay, Federal Reserve President of San Francisco, why is her mouth shut when it comes to SVB Bank, their collapse over there? Why? Why do you think? Because they're deflecting off of her. Because you see, then she would seem incompetent and maybe it would lose its job, okay? But no, her job, according to what she's saying here, is the economy remains strong or elevated, okay? And therefore, the Fed has more work to do. What is she saying? Let's read between the lines here, okay? She needs to crush the consumer harder to kill the economy. Why does a central bank, any central bank, I'm starting to sweat here, want to kill the economy? What are they trying to achieve here? You all know what I'm going to tell you. They want to be the lender and buyer of last resort, to own it all. Why do you think central banks are buying everything with their own, with the product that they create out of nothing, with no oversight? I want you to consider what I'm telling you, and I've said this a million times. A central bank, the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, pick one of these. Their product is debt. It's one thing. They issue debt to the world in whatever amount they want, and they manipulate that debt by getting into the debt market and manipulating rates, obviously. Okay. So we have the privilege of working for their product. We get to borrow their product, which cash is debt. Okay, these are not units of wealth. You don't even own these things, and you know that. They're owned by the issuing central bank people. They're owed back to the issuing central bank people, plus interest that they create out of nothing. And these central banks can do anything they want with no oversight. They can fund this, that, and the other thing. Who do you think funds all these wars that are going on? The immense budget deficits that we have here, 1.1 trillion this fiscal year alone. And here in the United States, 406 billion more than last year. Who makes up the gap? The Fed. Okay, they're more than willing to lend. And our loving, caring policymakers are more than willing to spend. You see how it works here? We don't have any representation, people. You know that. Anyway, so just to push this point home, as you already know, raising rates has nothing to do with stopping inflation or even slowing it down. Or if they wanted to get rid of inflation, they would contract the money supply. You haven't heard a word about this at all from the mainstream, and you will not. So you can expect right out of the mouth of whatever it is, go look at a picture of Mary Dolly. She doesn't know. She gets up in the morning. It doesn't know what it wants to do. It looks in the mirror and says, what do I want to do today? Do I want to look like a man or do I want to look like a woman? I don't know. Just pick a side, okay, Mary? If you're out here listening to me, I don't care what you want to look like, but just pick one. Don't pick somewhere in between. I just despise that. Anyway, that's just me. I tell you, people, I know I'm going to get myself in trouble with some of the things I say here, but I believe I'm saying what all of us, or at least the vast majority of us, believe and possibly think. Anyway, here's some other economic news that we got here. 58% of Americans, 58% of working, 58% of working Americans are now living paycheck to paycheck. Without one paycheck, they're out into the freaking street. Does that sound like a booming economy to you? Does that sound like, according to Mary Dolly, what did she say? What's her exact words again? Economic strength remains elevated. Does that sound like a strong economy to you with 58% of the people here live paycheck to paycheck? Are you kidding me? That thing should be dragged into the street by its hair. Okay, honestly, that's just me. But you all make up your own mind on this here, people, honestly. So crash the economy, cause people to lose their jobs, and maybe by some miracle, according to Vomitous Math Dolly, the inflation will slow down. You can't make this stuff up. It's impossible to do here. We've had central banks that have been, have been on a money creation extravaganza since 2008, only to prop this whole thing up here. Okay, 2008, this whole thing died. You all know that. It's been on life support ever since here. It's an incredible thing, but it's really the truth here. It's crazy. You know what this is, people? Let me put another perspective on this view. This is a war. And with wars, there are casualties. The war right now is central banks, none more so than the European Central Bank and the Federal Reserve, in my view, okay, who always work in tandem against you. You're the one with the target on your face. They get away with anything they want to. Do you realize that? Like I said, with no consequence at all, no accountability. This is a war, and we are losing that war. Do you realize that? Well, where's the revolt? Where's the revolution? I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere. This stuff, people, I'm telling you, one of these days I'm going to end up in a freaking padded room, and I hope some of you are going to come visit me here. Now, what are we going to do about all this? We can sit here and blab and blab and blab. Not even an hour ago, I put out another list for all of you. In fact, I even put a link here to my free newsletter, link in the description of this video, with a list of exchange traded funds, which will give you exposure to commodities. I'm going to tell you again, commodities, commodities, commodities. And if you want me to say it one more time, commodities. This is where you and I got to look moving forward here. Energy companies as well. You look at crude oil, over 2% gain today, $83. What do you recall this guy saying? When crude was around $60, I was laughing. I was like, there's no way it's going to stay here. You don't believe me? Look at my old videos. I said, crude's going much higher. It is going much higher. We haven't seen anything yet. We had a massive spike, a pretty significant drop, but we're going back up, and we're going up big time. Thank you, Mr. Christian Ram, RN. I love nurses. Nurses are awesome. Best people around. Let me tell you something. Anyway, people, what else am I going to tell you? What else can I say to you? You know what to do. You know why you're doing it. Betting against the debt, becoming your own central bank. I think that's the best advice I have ever given out. And I started this on day one. I said to myself, okay, people have to mimic central banks, and central banks don't hold gold just for tradition, as was spewed out of the mouth of another vomitous mass. Here, I'm talking about Ben Bernanke, the man who destroyed the global economy. But now, I think, did he win the Nobel Prize like 5 times or whatever it might be? He gets paid like $1 million per speech or something along those lines. Really? This is another guy that should be dragged down into the streets, drawn and quartered, in my view. But anyway, how about this one here? So going back to economic news. So not only are 58% of working Americans living paycheck to paycheck, but BlackRock, BlackRock. We love BlackRock, don't we? Here's what they had to say. Inflation to remain well above the Federal Reserve's 2% target. Oh, here's the kicker. For an extended period of time. Duh? Again, can I please get another freaking duh here? You can't make this stuff up. The IMF, the International Mafia Fund, public debt is skyrocketing at its fastest pace ever, well above all projections. That's their words, not Greg Mannarino. Okay. What else can I tell you? I don't even know. I can't read half of this stuff I wrote down, but you know what? I think I'm just gonna. This video is going on 15 minutes here. It's getting kind of long here, people. You know the story. I've covered so much here in this video with you. I've gotten kind of angry. I maybe pissed off a few people talking about it's and things and gender confusion, whatever it might be. Look, I don't care what it wants to be. All right. Just pick a side. Redbeards Racing, thank you. I'm gonna go work on my come out right after this. I don't know. It's nuts. It's nuts. Yeah. Yeah, I have gone through a metamorphosis lately. Oh no, over the years here. When I started this whole thing, I had long hair. I had these crazy mutton chops. They were awesome. I wish I still had them. I don't even know if I can grow them back anymore. Anyway, people, yeah, they're a bunch of cretins. I think we covered a lot, like I said. I don't know what else that we can possibly discuss today here. I think I lost my cool a little bit here and there. And like I said, I probably offended a few people, but frankly, I don't really even care, honestly. If people get offended by words that are coming, and believe me, you have no idea what it's like to be Greg Mannarino here. Hate mail, death threats. Whenever I say something that people don't seem to completely agree with, I become public enemy number one. But mostly it's because I'm telling people the truth. Again, you want to piss somebody off to the highest order and then some, tell them the truth. Tell people the truth and they can't handle it. They go at you like you are literally public enemy number one. They want you dead. They want your skin. They want your blood. They want you dead. Thank you, Carlos. I think we all know that here. Okay. This is why you have the situation that we have. People want to, because of how they're brought up, they want to be lied to. The moment you tell them the truth, they go crazy. They can't handle it. They don't know what to do. Imagine if we lived in a world where people were told the truth right from the get-go. It was explained to them how the system works, how they're all made a slave the moment they are born here. Here in the United States, you're born into debt slavery. You owe money to the Federal Reserve that you've never even borrowed yet. But your existence, the fact that you took your first breath means that you owe the Federal Reserve money. It's an incredible thing. Who came up with the system? I tell you, the bankers did. Okay, when we left a wealth-based system, a gold-backed system, to this fiat debt-based system, we lose. We all lose. And you lose from the moment you take your first breath. That's how sick and twisted it is. I can't imagine anything more sick and twisted than that. Thank you, Charles. Yeah, candy apple already come out. I thought about that. All right, people, I'm going to call this here. We seriously have covered a lot here. We will reconvene tomorrow in the morning. Please, people, look at what I got. 1,532 people watching this. Got 444 thumbs up. Thank you, Lava Girl, telling everyone to get in here, and everybody else who supports this blog. Those thumbs up, they mean something. It allows people. When YouTube's algorithms, when they see that people like a video, they get it out there more. It makes it higher up in there, or however they do it. This is how we can make a difference here, people. Just like the video. If you don't want to share it, just like it. It'll get picked up by the algorithm, and they'll show this stuff more. So all it takes is, if I've covered anything here that you think is interesting, important, or maybe something you never heard about before, especially if you're new here, I would appreciate that thumbs up. I would appreciate your comments. I want you to contemplate what I'm talking about here. Thank you, Upright88. And comment about it. And, look, you don't have to agree with me either. You could say, Greg, you know what? I think you got this wrong. I like that. So please, if I do get something wrong, let me know where I got it wrong so I can learn something. I'm not too old yet, believe it or not, to learn a new trick or two. And get that out as well here. And for all of you that maybe are thinking about starting your own blog, please do that. You are, all of you here. Anything that I do publicly, you are free to use. Use it all. All the stuff in my newsletter, whatever I say here, use it. Use it in your own blog here. Refer back if you want to, or don't. But this is information that people need to hear. And I'm counting on you to do that. All right, people, love you a lot from the heart. I will see all of you tomorrow morning as usual, and it's going to be just lovely.